who we call quote-unquote God's children, but there are second-order entities that live like parasites off your fear, your anguish, everything that you kick off as humanly possible. Human reactions give off energies and radiations, and there are parasites, energy parasites that suck and feed on that. That's why you have so many children disappearing, because children's fear is almost like sweet candy and ice cream to them. So what you have now, essentially, in the Illuminati's lexicon of control are some of the other words, or the words that dovetail from the original four. So what we will deal with is what we call the auric vampirism, which is what they call sacrifice. So anytime they start dealing with going to war, that's collective auric sacrifice. Whenever there is a war and there is people dying, there is a release of enormous amounts of energies that they feed from. And I know it sounds crazy, but understand we haven't even scratched the surface of what's really going on in our reality today. We have what is known as virtual experience entrainment. You are all vicarious experiencer of the realities that we are dealing with. We live a vicarious experience, and we will speak about that. We are talking about belief inducement, second intentions. We're talking about invented impediments, reality as only a description, preemptive consent. We're dealing with distorted nomenclature. We're dealing with cult of personality and false dichotomy. These words are essentially some of the tactics, the psychological, very subtle tactics being used by the parasitic elite to keep us in light code lockdown. Again, there is no game. There is only control. You are being controlled, and when you go home, I would suggest that you look around your house to see what it is that keeps you plugged into the matrix, and see what it is that you are dependent upon, see what it is that makes you feel that you can't do without. Besides the food that you become addicted to, which is really not food, because real food doesn't addict. Let me say that again. Only poisonous foods can addict you. You cannot be addicted to an apple. The only way you can be addicted is if something poisons you, and with that poison, the poison takes something from you, creating a deficit in your body, which your body then aches for. That's how crack works. Brothers and sisters, we are being engineered genetically, socially, sexually, and psychologically to serve the parasitic elite of the Illuminati. They have undermined institutions like marriage and the archetypal family, culture, and spirituality to promote depravity, dysfunction, corruption, and division. They have orchestrated 2 world wars and are planning a 3rd before 2012. Understand, everyone, that we are essentially exactly in, as Brother Common had the common sense to say, we are essentially in a lockdown. And that lockdown gives us certain energies that we think comforts us into believing that we have everything working for us. But everything inside of that reality is telling us to do everything contrary to our spiritual development. They're doing everything they can to dismantle what you would organically see by your self-organic resurrection or development or enhancement and ascension. So Common said something very interesting. Common said universal mind control. And that's where we are. They said that they want to deal with universal mind control. So in this mind control think tank that we're going to be dealing with, we're going to be breaking down a few of the ways that it happens. Now, the first thing we got to do is to go through the history. You got to know who it is that's been working you so that you can recognize the names. And then when you get the names, you go and you do your investigation. See, I'm not just giving you this to you to see, okay, well, Valentine says something. No, you get your ass going, check out the data that's relevant to you, and get busy to find out what it is, what it's going to mean in your life, and do something about it. People come here because they're information addicts. They like to hear information so they can talk about it around the water cooler. Guess what I heard? This is not for gossip. This is not gossip. First things first, these are some of the different tactics of universal mind control. We've heard of MK Ultra, but we haven't heard about Monarch and Project Superman. Project Superman is what they're using in the military right now as we speak. Psychotronics and ELF microwave, virtual experience entrainment, psychogenics, subliministics, neuromapping, psyops, diops, microchip implants, ELF weaponry, chemtrails, and drugs. And drugs, by drugs, I mean not the ones that you put into your vein, not the ones you snort up, not the ones you be toting. I'm talking about what you eat. Because addictions come in the form of what they tell you is food as well. And they got to addict you because it's a business. You got to go back and keep eating it. Now, universal mind control. Who, where, when it all began, how, where, why it was perfected. Let's get some of the people involved with who this is. Johann Goth wrote, "None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free." Now, a white man said something very potent. And I think it don't matter who it came from. Right. Makes sense to me, because I know some Negroes who really believe that they're free. We had hundreds of millions of them actually going out there talking about being free. And you know, just to dovetail off of what you said, good brother, about this Obama drama that black folks got sucked into. I did a whole thing on Obama. I warned you all about him in 2005. I mean, instead people heard my Death March video. And I told you, watch out for that Negro, because he was Illuminati. But of course, only a few people heard it. Right. Then when I came out and started talking about him being Malcolm's son, everybody just went crazy. I said he looked like Malcolm. So here, I was just going to do the forensics and make you judge him. Now they got him as Akhenaten, returned. Because you know they're up there digging in Kemet for a reason. They're getting them genetics because their genetics are dying out. They hit zero population back in 1994. And they need to use the cream of the crop genetics. Okay? So, none are so blind and hopelessly enslaved than those who believe they are free. A man by the name of Edward Bernays wrote a book called Propaganda. And this is how mind control works today, beloved brothers and sisters. We are governed, our minds molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested, largely by men who we have never heard of. Whatever attitude one chooses to take toward this condition, it remains a fact that in almost every act of our daily lives, whether in the sphere of politics or business, our social conduct or our ethical thinking, we are dominated by a relatively small number of persons, a trifling fraction of our 120 million who understand the mental processes and social patterns of the masses. It is they who pull the wires, which control the public mind, and who harness old social forces and continue new ways to bind and to guide the world. This is not a joke. This is not frivolous. There are people working your minds from back then. There is a book out called Public Opinion. You need to make it part of your library. Why? Because it's from this book that they began to show all the ways that the Illuminati started to control paradigm. In 1922, a man named Walter Lippmann, the first to translate Sigmund Freud's works into English, was to become one of the most influential of political commentators. He spent World War I at the British Psychological Warfare and Propaganda Headquarters in Wellington House, working with a group that includes Freud's nephew, Edward Bernays. From his book, Public Opinion, published 1 year after Freud's Mass Psychology, he defined the term public opinion as, quote, the pictures inside the heads of human beings. The pictures of themselves, of others, of their needs and purposes and relationships. These are their public opinions. Those pictures which are acted upon by groups of people or by individuals acting in the name of groups are public opinion with a capital letter. So essentially, anything you think about that you think you have to think about or you can't help think about is public opinion they put in your head. And they do things to you so that you would react, so that now you've created a whole other loop in your head that becomes your new public opinion. You get locked down by thinking them as more powerful, them having more than you, them enslaving you. If you were to drop everything now and not buy a damn thing for the next week, he would shrivel up and die, blow away. You talk about a day of absence. Unless you learn to fast, purify, or know where to eat grass, you ain't coming out. You ain't bringing this beast down. And ain't no guns going to do it because they're waiting for you to get the guns. In fact, they'll bring them to you. You ain't organized. You ain't ready for war. And the thing is, war got to start in chaos. There is no leader that anybody comes up as a leader, they've been picked. Understand that if a leader can actually go out and take a public forum and get TV time, understand that there are leaders that can do that, but they are under the deepest scrutiny and will be taken out like that. Understand that your leader and the war and the revolution will happen in a spark, just like lightning hitting dry brush. It's not going to be something, okay, all right, your brothers go over there, and we'll be over there. We'll call you on the cell phone when time to attack. It's not going to work. It has to come from a mob of people bum rushing the halls of authority, destroying the halls of authority. Thanks, brother. And a leader coming out of that is a real leader. But you see, anything that begins has a birth, a time of fruit, and a corruption time. And anything you create will be corrupted. That's the nature of things in third density. And that's the part of the mystery system that was not taught to us. The only way we have to get to beat this thing is to understand how the Kemites did their science of incorruptibility. If we don't understand the science of incorruptibility, we put people in there that will lead us into corruption. And when you have leaders who are corrupt, then the society is doomed. Because the people need to overthrow corruption. They need to put people in there. When you're a leader, your mind belongs to the people, and the people are your mind. If you have an isolated agenda from the people, then you're no leader. You're a dictator. And this is exactly what it is we have today. People who dictate the bullshit to us. He also said that Lippmann further showed that people are more than willing to reduce complex problems into simplistic formulas. So when you get a problem, you want somebody to give it to you in a little spoon so that you can say, okay, that's it? Okay, I can handle that. You don't want to work it out for yourself. You don't want to get into the mind necessary to bring out a solution, to form their own opinions of what they believe others around them believe. Truth becomes optional. Appearance of reports in the media further give the aura of reality to those stories. If it wasn't real, why would it be reported? Also, people whose frame is built up by the media, such as movie stars and recording artists can become opinion leaders with as much power to sway public opinion as political figures themselves. Popular opinion, he said,